Laura, you mentioned the growth in NDIS. Look at this graph here. This shows you where it would have been without that target cap, however you want to call it. But it's the key areas where there's growth in government spending. And see that blue line there? You see where the interest payments would have been if not for the reduction in debt. And there's the NDIS blue line. That's where it would have been without that target. And if they're unable to achieve that, Laura.
It's enormous. And with even this cap in place, we're still talking about $5 billion a year in extra costs going towards the NDIS. That's with the cap in place. So it's an extraordinary amount of money. As I mentioned, I think that the government is warming up to this. They want it to be sustainable. Even with that cap, it is still not sustainable because it doesn't look at the core problem. They've got to go back to first principles on it. It was for the profoundly disabled as a safety net. It can't have these cost blowouts because it's going to become politically unpopular and it's just not sustainable the way it is. So, look, I think they're warming up to it. They build some capital and they do something in the outer years and actually get to the core of it. It is interesting to see there
as well. You look in the budget, you see the overwhelming spending goes to social welfare and to health, and they're ballooning out it.
And they've actually added to the structural spending on welfare in this budget.
That's right. So it dwarfs education. It dwarfs, sort of defence. It dwarfs many of the other areas that people would imagine that there would be big ticket items. And so on the other side, you see where they get the income from. It's from PAYG workers. It's typical workers that they get their money from, and bracket creep means they've got more through the door.
We've got the Treasurer arriving shortly. Let's get some final thoughts from all of you. Thank you so much for your insights already. But Ross, your final thoughts tonight?
This budget frightens nobody, I think. I think that's the issue about it, because there's no surprises, there's no nasties out there. It turns up with a surplus as it should. And then the big issue for this government is to try and deliver upon it. Will the unemployment rate ultimately start to rise to take pressure off wages? Will interest rates start to come down at some stage over the next 12 months? All these will determine where the budget ends up with. But as Andrew said earlier, they've been very modest in terms of their economic forecast for the next 12 months. They could out-achieve that. They could outperform that. And as a result, they could be even in better shape and even back in surplus this time next year.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, if those commodity prices continue at that level, even the out years could be, in a chance of surplus. Laura, your final thoughts tonight?
To extend Ross's metaphor on the walking on eggshells, he's done that, I think. And he hasn't killed the goose either. He hasn't killed the golden goose. I think politically it'll be very difficult for the opposition to say, yep, look, there's this big welfare spend. Okay, the next question to the opposition is, what wouldn't you have done? Would you not have given the single mothers that payment, single parents that payment? Would you not have extended JobKeeper by 5%? And the other thing to note here is, the bubble is going nuts about stage 3 tax cuts and the upgraded cost not being in this budget. I think Jim Chalmers showed tonight that he's resigned to the fact that they are staying. That will absolutely happen, and that goes to the middle class. That is the reason they won the Aston by-election. If they want to win those outer suburban seats and keep the coalition away from them, they're going to have to keep them.
Laura, thanks.